Hey guys, it's Shafina and Naseem, and this week our topic is self-love. So let's go straight into it. Self-love. How important is self-love?
Very important. I think most people don't put enough importance on it, and it's kind of sometimes seen, especially by guys, as this like an airy-fairy thing that you don't need it, you need to toughen up, all that kind of thing. Um, and obviously, it has a lot of ripples when you don't have that, because self-love is tied into self-respect, is this tied into self-assurance, is tied into self-confidence. There's many more things that are just self-love on its own. It doesn't exist. It exists alongside many other really good qualities as well.
You mentioned something there that just hit a little bit of a nerve, the self-love and self-respect. And I feel just personally, I always kind of sort of relate things back to myself, and maybe someone else can relate to this as well. Often I feel the lack of self-love affects the type of people you choose in your life. Um, if there isn't enough self-love, you're going to surround yourself with the wrong people. And because again, you just mentioned respect and self-respect. When you love yourself enough, you'll have enough self-respect to know that what sort of people you would choose to be part of your life, partner-wise, friendship-wise. It's pretty deep. It's pretty deep. And I feel often people don't even practice any self-love.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I think it's just they're just unaware. It's like, as you said before, it's only when certain things are mentioned that you think, oh, wait a minute, is that happening for me? Because there are an awful lot of people who stay in relationships or will put up with some really difficult situations. And I'm not saying that marriage is like a get out of free, get out of jail free card. Obviously, a lot of effort and focus needs to be put on your relationship and
Mm.
understanding the other person's perspective. But if it's always you, the one, like I did a coaching session with one of my clients a couple of days ago, and he had this realization, and like it's like he's never thought about it before. And he's like, wait a minute, I was married for like 5 years, and it's taken me like well after my divorce to figure out that it was me putting in all the effort. I didn't even realize that I wasn't looking for anything back. I was just the giver, thinking I'm the husband, I should give, I should take care of my wife. Not for a moment did I think that I actually need to be cared for back. And he goes, it just didn't even occur to me, you know? Excuse me. So I think that the realization that it didn't occur to him simply was that it's not something that's discussed. It's not something that's people talk about in the circles. And as I said earlier on, it's looked upon as something airy fairy, and that you're just soft if you think like that, and you're not man enough, or you're not smart enough or confident enough. And you can be judged sometimes. I don't know if you agree or disagree on that.
I definitely agree about being judged on it, but one thing I've just realized is that we're talking about self-love. I tend to promote it to the girls on my socials. Self-love, look after yourself, take care of you. But actually, men need self-love too. And and no one really I don't think anyone talks about that from a man's perspective.
No, they don't.
I don't. I didn't even think. I mean, I'm always, just speaking to the girls sometimes and out there, other women. But actually it's important both ways, to look after yourself and to appreciate yourself and understand that you're worthy and deserving. Um, so I suppose in what ways can you practice self-love?
Sorry, I think I'm gonna have coming on with a cold today. I keep on coughing. I think the just looking at things from an umbrella perspective in your life will definitely help. I think when people are either through habit or just how they see things, they're looking at things through tunnel vision.
Mm.
I find that they then end up in situations where they stay or they leave situations, but they're all about like, I need closure, I need this, somebody not responding to you is closure. Someone who doesn't respond back to your text, or you're having to chase them, is closure. For them to physically say, oh, look, I don't want to communicate with you anymore, in my opinion, I don't think it's necessary, because actions speak louder than words.
Definitely, that's interesting. That's almost sort of going on to a different topic, and that's definitely one to look out for. That closure actually doesn't necessarily mean to have that conversation like the way you would assume a closure is. Closure can be different answers, and I can go into a whole different topic on that, but I'll save that for, another time, maybe next week. We always seem to talk and then pick up a topic and think, yeah, that will be the next topic. So it's good. It's flowing. It's flowing.
Yeah.
So just some ways that I've observed in terms of self-love for myself, because I feel like I didn't practice it for a long time, and we kind of airy fairly spoke about it, or I'll speak about it here and there, but actually looking at it now, practicing it is eating better, getting my sleep, which is something I have to work on, that routine. It's a work in progress. Giving time to myself. Obviously, I spend a lot of time on my socials, so I have to put my phone down. Just that for me is self-love, to just switch off from the electronics. And even, for example, when I eat, this is the only time I'm not on my phone. It's when I eat my food. For me, that's my self-love, my time to just no TV, no nothing, no phone, no phone calls, just eat my food happily, like quietly,
Mm,
peacefully.
yeah.
That's something, that works for me. And then I guess doing certain things. I've recently picked up reading,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I'm making sure I have time for that. And then there's a few other skills that I'm learning that makes me happy. So I suppose, to the person listening to this right now, if you think, how do I, what you do for self-love might be different to what I'm doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, but it's one of the biggest things as well, that I will talk about, is we tend to put ourselves down. We have this voice in the back of our head. Everyone has it, this little voice that becomes very loud sometimes. And and maybe you've made mistakes, because whose mistake is it really? So in people's opinions, maybe you've not made the best choice or whatever it is, and you're going to take yourself down for it. And that negative talk that you're doing to yourself, I would say, would you do that? This is one thing I learned in one of my conferences that I went to. And the lady on the stage said, would you talk to your 5-year-old child like that? Or a 5-year-old little girl or boy? Would you say, you're not good enough and you don't deserve that? And you just wouldn't. Just wouldn't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she said, so if you wouldn't do it to a 5-year-old child, why are you doing it to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
That
that's
right there.
that's very powerful. That actually.
Really powerful. Even think about it now, my eyes are watering if you're watching the video. Um, it was really deep. And I thought, you know what? Yeah. And I suppose that was a bit of a turning point for me, thinking, okay, I need to, it doesn't happen overnight. None of this stuff happens overnight. You have to keep trying. And I thought, right, moving forward, I've got to understand that, um, if I'm someone's 5-year-old child, will they allow this for me? Would I be happy if I had a 5-year-old daughter to be in this situation? Would I happily, if I had a daughter, want her to be with this person? And if the answer is no, then I'm like, why would I put myself in that?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I wouldn't approve of that.
Yeah.
And like, it's a form of self-love. Choose, I feel.
Yeah. I think the the harshness that how we deal with ourselves is sometimes we're unaware. It's a case of, get up, and it's a case of, I've got this to do, that to do, this to do, and you're just going down your to-do list, not realizing that you haven't actually given yourself some time. So, whether that's time in the gym or time for fresh air and a walk, or as you said, just enjoying your food peacefully. It seems to be we're living in a world where everyone else comes first before you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's horrible. And I'll say one of the biggest habits that we do, I think I mentioned this on the previous episode, where I said the first thing we do is we pick up our phone and we allow everyone into our bedroom first
Yeah,
thing in the morning,
yeah,
the whole world, you know,
very good.
and you wouldn't practically do that. So why are we, why are we allowing that first thing? And one thing I have started recently, back on it anyway, I have a diary just over there, and I've literally put um myself. So you know, you have your to-do list. So I have like a diary. Okay, I scheduled this appointment in today. I had a casting, all that stuff. But to set myself up to make myself feel better, I was just speaking on the phone to a friend. She'll know who she is when she's watching this back. But I was saying to her, and I've said it to myself as well, I've got a list of things that I've got to do to show up as my best self that makes me feel centered, aligned. And again, that's a form of self-love, putting sorting myself out. And you know what, the last few days, alhamdulillah, has made me feel really good within. You've
Mm,
been speaking to me and you see the difference.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
Big difference, mashallah.
very quickly as well.
Yeah. Mashallah.
Yeah,
I'm
this
really
is
pleased. I'm really pleased.
alhamdulillah. Yeah, I've put implemented some things. I've got this. I've made a tracker. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm ticking the little things that I've got to do so I can evaluate my week.
Hmm.
And they say every successful person tracks themselves. So this is
Yeah,
a really good thing. So I'm putting those things into place because it's something that I would recommend, and I wouldn't recommend something that I'm not doing myself.
yeah, yeah.
And and if people can think of some certain things that make them feel good, examples of mine, I've put gratitudes, affirmations. There's probably a lot of people can relate to these,
Mm,
but we don't actually do them. We don't practice them. We don't put them into play.
mm,
But once you start doing these things, whether it's like I heard an example one time, they said they just have to read their newspaper and have a cup of coffee,
mhm,
and that makes their morning. Like,
mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with that. You've got to do what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Um, and my main point here is when you self-love and you make yourself feel good and you look after you, uh, from there, you can then give love or understand what it actually is, if that makes sense. Because personally, I've not been very good with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I had to work, you got to work on yourself first, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or
No, no, totally. I think you have to be in that position to be able to then be available for someone else. If you're not, there'll be so many things that you'll just not notice or just walk right past that should have had your focus on them. If you, for example, if you've just finished your prayers, you've got that lightness in your heart, and then you've got that few minutes just to sit on your prayer mat and just reflect, as opposed to just waking up first thing in the morning and you're still running about last thing at night, and you've blinked and the whole day's gone by. And yeah, you might have done some work or you might have done XYZ for other people, but mentally yourself, you're completely drained because you didn't give yourself that space that you need. I've done it before. A few months ago, I just took off for a couple of days. I went up north to Pitlochry and took I was reading that Yasmin Mujahid's book, Reclaim Your Heart.
yeah,
So sat beside a log fire, read my book, enjoyed my coffee, switched off from my phone, and just allowed myself to sort of immerse into the book and just give myself some switch off time from laptops and phone calls and people. And when I came back, it was just Ramadan was starting. So it was the Tarawih's the night before. So I just came back, packed up the car, did my wudu, got my abaya, went straight to masjid, and I was part of the prayer, the night prayer of Tarawih before the fast, the next day. And it all tied in so nicely to have those couple of days to myself and then start Ramadan. So yeah, self-love, self-time. And I'm more and more aware of it as I speak to my clients, that I have to give that to myself as well. Because you can't be the best version. So if you want to be the best wife, the best mom, the best sister, you can't be the best version of yourself if you haven't allowed that space and time to yourself. Because then it's just, remember we were speaking about it the other day, that it's just like shaking up a bottle of fizzy juice. Then until you take that lid off, it's just gonna burst itself. Do you get me? So allowing that release, and understanding as well. Someone who has that self-love will be able to cope with situations a lot better, or be in a more level-headed position when making decisions, as opposed to just having knee-jerk reactions to think and just, oh yeah, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, without really thinking the consequences behind as well.
No, I hear you on that. I have a question. Um, can people be mistaken as being selfish? How do you handle that? If you're
Yeah, I think you have a valid point there, and they can be, and I think unfortunately it's a kind of pot calling the kettle black situation. So if you're thinking someone is being selfish for giving themselves some time, then you're being selfish for not allowing them that time as well. I don't know if you see it from that perspective or not.
Oh, I definitely see it from that perspective. It's just, people may be feeling like, oh, if I give this time for me, then my family's gonna think this or they're gonna think that, or you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm the type of person that will, w- for example, I was speaking to my friend just now. I haven't heard from her for we established over 4 months, but we're cool like that. And I have that with a lot of my friends where we won't see each other for a long time, we won't hear from each other, but when we do, we're like, okay, cool, let's catch up.
Mm,
What's been going on? And
mm,
respectively, we understand that we both have lives, we all have our
mm,
own things going
mhm,
on,
mhm.
and people will, they've got to do their thing.
Yeah,
They've got to do what they need to do for themselves because you can't be there for everyone at every second of the day. And sometimes, yeah, that self-love, taking yourself away, hibernating for the winter, as she said it for a second. She's like, I was just hibernating. I'm back. And I'm like, do what you got to do, and I'm always here, inshallah.
mm,
um I love that. And she did sound a lot more refreshed
it's good. That's
thinking
good.
about it. I was just like,
Mm,
okay, cool, she's back. And
yeah,
then just I tried to give her a few words of wisdom to just help her along the way, which is nice. It's nice. And
yeah.
yeah, that's a bit of a different sort of tangent, but
Mm.
yeah,
So,
self-love, it's important. And I think moving forward as well, that helps. So if you are doing your self-love, you become your better version of yourself. You then are able to communicate and say, in terms of choosing a spouse,
mhm.
because ultimately Personal Match UK helps with that. Then you can find a better match in terms of attracting a better match because you are
Yeah.
more level-headed within yourself, like, if that makes sense.
You can see things that maybe you wouldn't normally have seen. So you can see kindness in someone, you can see empathy in someone, you can see, you ask more intelligent questions in terms of what's important to their family, what was important when they were growing up, in terms of the future, what would be the key things that they would like to spend time with when they're spending time with their spouse. And obviously, we previously spoke about date night as well. How important is date night to keep that bond and that link moving forward? All of that is part of self love as well. So if you have to say that, look, some people think, as you said, elders, especially in the DC community, you'll get, oh, she doesn't give time to this and she doesn't give time to that.
Mm.
But if you need it, you need it, then your routine should be to I think we've also mentioned it as well as if you're on the plane, if you don't put your own mask on first, then you can't help anybody else. So the kind of benefits to round up, like the benefits of self-love is you're with someone who's more available, you're with someone who's more interested in what you're saying, you're with someone who can think outside the box, you're with someone who is going to bring quality and positivity into your life, and someone who doesn't have that self love will see things from a different lens and will see life from a different lens and may even find it more challenging. I don't know if you'd agree or disagree with that.
um yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely important to put your own mask on first. You show up way better than that, and then you can look after so many more people. Some people I hear where they're running down the ground basically because they're doing everything for everyone else. And I've said it to certain people in my life before where I'm like, okay, I hear you're trying to make everyone else happy, but if you don't look after you, you're going to be miserable. You're literally going to be so miserable that you will burn out, and then you're no use to anyone else.
Mm.
And sorry, I've gone off a bit of a tangent. With What was your question? Remind me again.
Oh
Sorry.
no, sorry. Yeah, so I've got a kind of double sort of question to that. So
Yeah.
self love. How much is that to connected to your mental, physical, emotional health, do you think?
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. It really is. I guess I'm emotional thinking about it, but for me, like I mentioned, my self-love is what I'm putting into my body, my sleeping pattern, what I'm saying, affirmations, my gratitudes. I've got a few other things. The gym thing, I am getting to routine with that. I haven't got it yet, but I'm literally having 80% days. So, which is good.
Mhm.
When I was having 0% days. So I'm at 80% now, which is amazing, alhamdulillah. And it plays an effect on my mental state.
Mhm.
I know that we've been meaning, let's just say it straight up, we've been meaning to this podcast for a very long time, but mentally I wasn't there. I wasn't in the right place. And I said to you, I can't give anything to others if I haven't sorted myself out,
Yeah.
and then as soon as I was ready, I was like, let's go. I'm ready
Yeah.
now. I
Mashallah.
feel like, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But until I dealt with what I had to deal with and then started to implement the self-love practices, only now I can show up here.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this podcast would not be happening.
Yeah.
In all
Mhm.
honesty.
I
So
straight up, like, completely understand. Hence the reason why I was like, is it happening? Okay. Is it happening?
no,
It-
I really
I,
appreciate
I
it.
just, no, I just kept dipping my toe in the water thinking, shall I ask? Shall I not ask?
I felt so
Because
bad.
obviously it was really, for me, from a sister to sister, it was more
Mm.
important than any of this or anything else that we like decide to work on your mental health and where you were, and even your voice, Shaf. Like, you couldn't even speak some days, like, we had conversations where you were just silent, and those days were difficult for me as well to like watch you go through that. That was hard.
It's getting me emotional now. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And I think I can't some things I don't remember. The way that you're pointing it out, I know that I was really sort of far gone. Like my mom witnessed it and everything. And I guess even now, what I have realized, I'm still not 100% to my self. However, there's something that does happen. So maybe it might happen on this podcast where sometimes I'm struggling to, which I've noticed, like comprehend something, or it's not registering. That's happened recently a little bit, and I think it's like an after effect of all the everything. So, but other than that, the rest of the things I feel like I'm much much better. um I'm just sharing this with you openly. Maybe someone else is going through it, so I'm gonna be open about it. And you go through stresses in life, and we lack the self-love, and you tend to have, I guess there can be slight symptoms of PTSD. Or maybe we'll speak about mental health on a different topic. I've got a bit of that background as well. We can talk about
Mhm.
that later.
Yeah,
uh
interesting, interesting.
yeah. We're still learning about each other, this is the thing.
Yeah,
Through these podcasts, there's so
yeah,
much more that we can go through on.
yeah.
um but yeah, I realize now that I can't go into anything until I really work on the self-love properly,
Mhm.
like really give myself that time. You know, I know there's opportunities there, everywhere. However, until I don't break this pattern of, not making the most suitable, compatible choices,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
I've got to work on me. That's the first thing I can do.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, ask for God's guidance, and alhamdulillah, He brought me you. This is like
Mhm.
honestly a blessing. I'm so, so grateful. And if anyone else is listening to this as well, you know, this is a blessing. Alhamdulillah, Naseem, you've been amazing. Mashallah. Like,
Mm. It's
it's
good. It's nice that, obviously that's my intention for the years, like 25 years of doing what I've been doing. When I wake up in the morning, and I do my prayers, I always say, Allah, allow me to help as many people as I can, because it is really quite surreal. Every other person that I speak to, and it hits my heart every single time. It's not like I'm immune to it and it happens every day. It just means so much when people stop and say, no one's actually taking the time out to get to know me like you have. No one's taking the time out to understand me at the level you have. And now, I'm in a position where I only surround myself with people who are good for me. And I didn't realize that before. But now I've gotten really good at understanding what is my value in this person's life. and I'm making choices to only surround myself with people who value me truly from the heart, and it makes me feel good because this is all connected to self-love and appreciating yourself and appreciating the people who love you around you. And it makes a big difference to the quality of your life, you know?
Yeah, no, it really, really does. It really does. And it gives you it's yeah, just sorry, I'm a bit emotional, but it's really it's a blessing, honestly, alhamdulillah. And I'm lost for words for a bit. Let me just have some water, excuse me.
No problem. So yeah, so anyone listening who does want an impartial, private listening ear, you know where to find us. We're here for you. Anything we can do to help, support, advise, that might help you along your journey to be able to find your own answers or find your own methods of self-love, whatever they might be. As you said, Shafina, they're different for different people.
Yeah.
But putting that in, it gives like an extra sukoon, an extra peace to your heart because you feel the difference. And you can see, I believe, since I've been sort of practicing it more, I see life with much more clarity. I see my vision is clear. It's not blurred anymore. It's there's not as many, how do I deal with this, or what am I going to do with that. They're just like decisions that I'm comfortable with, and I know that they're coming from a sound mind, sound heart. So yeah, it makes all the difference.
It's
Definitely.
a better quality of life then.
Yeah, for sure, for
Better
sure.
choices, better decisions, better actions, better thoughts. Thoughts are a huge thing. That could be another podcast on its own.
Yeah.
And then making better choices. And there was a topic, there was something I was going to mention. It's gone out of my head. This happens a lot as well. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm on a healing journey. Oh, yes. So there are moms out there, that we're covering different areas here. And I suppose I feel like this. I mean, I'm not a mom yet, inshallah, one day. However, there are, yeah, there are moms out there and they have the guilt of taking time out for themselves. Maybe there's some sisters there that are married and, or even dads, they both get busy.
Mhm,
And sometimes they need to understand that it's okay to take time out for yourself, even
mhm,
though you've got kids and all these other responsibilities.
mhm,
Don't lose yourself in that you're still you.
mhm, mhm,
I think
mhm,
that's important. I know we're speaking to say Muslims that are single, but obviously people that are not single, they're in marriages. You've got to continue that self-love
mhm, mhm.
throughout your journey of life,
Yeah.
just because not just before you find a partner, continue after as well, so you can maintain your best self to maintain the quality of that relationship, inshallah. And both both parties should practice this, if that makes sense.
For sure. And I think it's something that should be taught to your children as well, to know that mom needs her time and dad needs it's not all about like you. I know that with the little kids in my life, I always sit and say, mommy and daddy are important, they love you, they care for you, they feed you, they give you everything that you need, and sometimes they need their time as well. So um to help them understand, I think it does. Again, if it's never been mentioned to you as you're growing up, you just always think that I'm right. But when you're
Mm.
hearing different points of view and you're thinking, oh, this person said that, who's in your life, and you appreciate them and you love them, that wherever you are, you could be an aunt, a grandparent, a sister, a cousin, khala, popo, whatever you are. And then you could be the one that's taking the children for a while your brother, your sister has that couple time, and just time to be, even just time to sleep, I think, if it's a little baby, because obviously, babies are up all night. So no, I think there's many benefits. And I think it goes unnoticed for a lot of people that they should just carry on. Whereas if it's something that they practice and they put it into their routine, they'll actually see a richer, a more fuller, more happier, more content. I think more things in your life you accept better if you've given that self love to yourself.
I love that. I really love that because I just had this image now of, imagine you're doing this, your partner's doing this, and then obviously you're telling the child or children, hey, mom and dad need to have our own time and self-love and all that stuff. And then we're changing the next generation
Yeah, yeah.
because we're teaching them self-love because our previous generation didn't have it.
No, they didn't. They
They didn't
didn't.
have they don't know what we're talking about. They think we're airy-fairy people. But now and you hear a lot of parents unfortunately say, or father-in-laws, I guess it's common mother-in-laws and stuff, oh, well, when I was that age and I did this and I did that and we didn't have this and you hear that a
Mm,
lot. I've heard it
mm,
in so many different areas, different,
mm,
friends and things like that and what they're going through.
mm,
And it's sad. And, recently I caught someone that I know that said it. Oh, well, when I went, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't say it. Like, because we have to break this pattern. We
mm,
have to break this cycle.
mm,
Um, and, I hope that we don't do the same thing, like moving forward. Oh, well, when I was, it's horrible. So if
mm,
we can break that now and teach, actually, we do self-love. And then that child grows up, inshallah, saying, I've got to have self-love. And then they teach their child self-love. Do you know how on a, it's I go really deep into these things in extreme, but how amazing can you like what a difference.
yeah, I'll change the whole setup of the family. Yeah, it really will.
And the setup of that yeah, that family and
Yeah,
then their families.
yeah,
And then next thing you know, the street, the society. If everyone just did their bit and implemented these patterns, you can make a huge difference.
yeah. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye. And I just want to thank everyone for listening on the road to happiness today. It's been a fantastic show today. And thank you so much, Shafina, for all your insight and all your interesting ideas. I've loved them. And obviously, as you said, we're going to keep continuing growing.
Yes.
So, yeah, and thank you for everyone for listening. And we hope you're having a really great day out there today.
Allah. Self-love,
Self
sending you love.
love, self love. Family. Take care.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to this podcast. If you found this beneficial, give this video a like and hit the subscribe button to be notified for the next episode.